April 17th, 1942. North Atlantic, 400 miles east of Newfoundland. The night is black as coal, the only light a sliver of moon and the faint, ghostly glow of phosphorescence in the ship's wake. The wind howls across the deck of the SS Jeremiah, a brand new Liberty ship, her hull still smelling of fresh paint and hot steel. The convoy, 30 merchant ships in all, plows through icy swells, their engines thumping a steady, anxious rhythm. Every man aboard knows the danger. Somewhere out there, beneath the waves, German U-boats are hunting. On the bridge, Captain William McTaggart peers through salt-streaked glass, his gloved hands gripping the wheel. The radio crackles with terse voices. British, American, Canadian. Each ship reporting in, each captain's voice tight with tension. The O'Brien's cargo hold is packed to the beams. Tanks, trucks, crates of ammunition, and sacks of flour. Everything the Allies need to keep fighting in North Africa and Europe. Everything the enemy wants to send to the bottom. Below deck, the engine room is a furnace. Chief Engineer Frank Sullivan wipes sweat from his brow as he checks the gauges. The triple expansion steam engine, a marvel of American mass production, hammers away at full power. Sullivan knows the specs by heart. 2,500 horsepower, 11 knots, enough to keep pace with the convoy. But he also knows the ship is slow, a fat target for torpedoes. Suddenly, a flare arcs into the sky from the lead escort, the destroyer USS Gleagues. The signal is unmistakable. Submarine sighted. The O'Brien's crew springs into action. Lookouts scan the waves, eyes straining for the telltale periscope or the white feather of a torpedo's wake. The gunners, mostly young Navy armed guard, scramble to their stations. 20mm Oerlikons and a 3-inch deck gun. Their barrels cold and hungry. December 15th, 1941. Boston Harbor, Massachusetts. A biting wind whips across the docks as the SS Patrick Henry, the very first Liberty ship, prepares for her maiden voyage. Her hull gleams with fresh gray paint, the name stenciled in bold black letters. Dock workers scurry along the pier, securing the last crates of cargo, jeeps, medical supplies, barrels of fuel. The air is thick with anticipation and anxiety. News of Pearl Harbor is still fresh, and the Atlantic is now a battlefield. On D Bridge, Captain Miles Standish reviews the manifest with his first mate, John Red O'Malley. The crew, a mix of seasoned sailors and green recruits, move with nervous energy. The ship's whistle blares, echoing across the harbor, as families wave from the pier, faces pinched with worry. The Patrick Henry's lines are cast off, and her propeller churns the icy water. She joins a convoy of merchantmen, each one a floating lifeline to embattled Britain. As the convoy slips past the lighthouse and into open sea, the mood shifts. The men know what awaits them. The Black Pit, a stretch of ocean beyond the range of Allied air cover, where German U-boats prowl in the Liberty ships, with their slow speed and high silhouette, are tempting targets. But they are also the only hope for the besieged island across the water. Below deck, the engine room is a world apart. The thrum of the triple expansion steam engine vibrates through the steel plates. Oilers and firemen tend the boilers, sweat beading on their brows despite the winter chill. The ship's heartbeat is steady, but every man knows it could stop in an instant. Night falls. The convoy runs dark. No lights showing. Every porthole covered. On deck, the armed guard stands watch, eyes scanning the horizon. The tension is palpable. Suddenly, a lookout shouts, "Torpedo wake! Starboard!" The crew brace us as a white streak cuts through the water, missing the Patrick Henry by mere yards. A distant explosion signals another ship's fate. The next hours are chaos. Flares light the sky. Destroyers race to drop depth charges, and the convoy zigzags. The Patrick Henry's gunners fire at a shadowy periscope, the crack of the 3-inch gun echoing across the waves. The men work in silence, fear etched on their faces, but they do not falter. By dawn, the convoy has lost 2 ships, but the Patrick Henry survives. Her decks are littered with spent shell casings, her crew exhausted but alive. The radio crackles with news. More convoys are on the way. More Liberty ships joining the fight. The men know the odds, but they also know the stakes. Every crossing is a gamble, but every successful voyage brings the Allies one step closer to victory. As the Patrick Henry steams toward Liverpool, her holds packed with the tools of war, her crew understands their place in history. They are not just sailors. They are the lifeblood of the Allied cause, carried across the ocean by the ships that industry built and courage sailed. March 1943. Mid-Atlantic, aboard the SS Samuel Heintzelman. The sea is a cold, endless expanse. The sky a low, gray ceiling. The Samuel Heintzelman, another Liberty ship, rides heavy with cargo. Sherman tanks, crates of rations, and barrels of aviation fuel bound for the front lines. The convoy is tighter now. The lessons of loss etched into every captain's mind. Destroyers and corvettes weave through the columns, their sonar pings echoing through the holes, searching for the silent killers below. On D Bridge. Second Officer Ruth Fenn. Ruth Carter scans the horizon through binoculars. He's young, barely 24, but the war has aged him. His oilskin coat flaps in the wind as he checks the convoy's formation. The radio operator, Petty Officer Sam Lee, listens intently to the coded chatter. Reports of U-boats shadowing the convoy. Warnings to change course, to zigzag, to keep moving. Below, the engine room is a world of heat and noise. The Liberty's engine, battered but reliable, pushes the ship forward at a steady 11 knots. Chief Engineer Sullivan, now a veteran of 3 crossings, keeps a careful eye on the pressure gauges. He knows the ship's limits, knows that every extra knot is a risk, but also knows that speed is life. Suddenly, the alarm bell rings. 3 sharp clangs. Submarine sighted, port side. The crew rushes to their stations. The armed guard mans the 20mm Orlikons, their hands trembling as they scan the waves. A torpedo streaks past the bow, missing by feet. The destroyer USS Bori charges in, depth charges rolling off her stern. The sea erupts in geysers of water and oil. The convoy holds its nerve. The Liberty ships, Once Deridid, Asagli ducklings, now prove their worth. Their simple, rugged construction means they can take a hit and keep afloat. Their numbers overwhelm the enemy. Where one ship is lost, 2 more take her place. The U-boats, once the terror of the Atlantic, are now the Allied aircraft, flying from escort carriers, swoop overhead, dropping bombs and depth charges, forcing the submarines to dive deep and run. On deck, Ruth Carter wipes sweat from his brow, his heart pounding. The attack has been repelled, the convoy intact. The men cheer, relief mingling with exhaustion. They know the statistics are changing. In the first months of 1943, the Allies lost hundreds of ships, but now, with Liberty ships pouring off the slipways and new tactics in play, the tide is turning. In the mess hall, the crew gathers for a meal. Canned stew and hardtack washed down with strong coffee. They talk quietly, sharing stories of home, of loved ones waiting, of the hope that this crossing will not be their last. The Liberty ship, once a symbol of desperation, is now a symbol of resilience. As the Samuel Heintzelman steams westward, her wake a white scar on the gray sea, the men know they are part of something larger than themselves. The Liberty ships are not just cargo carriers. They are the arteries of the Allied war effort, pumping life across the ocean, defying the enemy with every mile. June 1944. London docks, England. The air is thick with the scent of diesel and brine as the SS Jeremiah O'Brien, battered but unbowed, eases into a berth. The city is alive with anticipation. D-Day is only days away, and the docks are a hive of activity. Cranes swing overhead, unloading crates of ammunition, stacks of jerry cans, and crates marked rations. U.S. Army. The O'Brien's crew, gaunt and sunburned, watches British Tommies and American Gs swarm the quayside, their faces a mix of nerves and determination. Bosun Charlie Mac McAllister leans on the rail, pipe clenched between his teeth, eyes scanning the chaos below. He's crossed the Atlantic 6 times now. each voyage a gauntlet of storms and submarines. He remembers the faces of those lost, friends swept overboard in a gale, gunners killed in sudden, violent attacks. But he also remembers the laughter, the camaraderie, the sense of purpose that binds the crew together. Down in the galley, cook Lillian Lil Harper stirs a pot of stew, her hands moving with practiced ease. She's one of the thousands of women who answered the call, trading aprons for overalls, spatulas for wrenches. Her voice is soft but steady as she serves up bowls to the hungry men. Eat up, boys. You never know when you'll get another hot meal. The crew grins, grateful for the comfort of home in a world turned upside down. On deck, Seaman First Class Eddie Ramos checks the lashings on a row of Sherman tanks. He runs his hand over the cold steel, thinking of the men who will drive these into battle. He's seen the cost of war, the burning ships, the empty bunks. But he's also seen the power of hope. Each Liberty ship that arrives means more lives saved, more battles. As dusk falls, the crew gathers on the forecastle, watching the city lights flicker on across the Thames. The air is filled with the distant rumble of artillery, the promise of a new offensive. Captain McTaggart joins them, his face lined with fatigue but lit by a quiet pride. He knows the statistics. Over 2,700 Liberty ships built, more than 200,000 men and women working around the clock, millions of tons of cargo delivered. But numbers can't capture the spirit of the fleet. The Liberty ships are more than steel and steam. They are the sum of every hand that built them, every heart that sailed them, every life they touched. They are the bridge between continents, the lifeline of freedom. As the O'Brien's crew prepares for another voyage, the city behind them braces for the storm of war. The Liberty ships will be there, as always, carrying the weight of hope across the sea. May 8th, 1945. Southampton, England, V-Day. The harbor is alive with celebration. Flags flutter from every mast, horns blare, and crowds line the docks, waving and cheering as the SS John W. Brown glides into port. Her hull is scarred and rusted, but she flies her colors proudly. The war in Europe is over. The Liberty ships, once symbols of desperation, are now icons of victory. On Tay Bridge, Captain Helen Delaney, one of the first women to command a Liberty ship, stands at attention, her uniform crisp, her eyes shining with tears. Around her, the crew gathers, some embracing, others simply staring in disbelief at the crowds ashore. The journey has been long and perilous, but they have made it. They have delivered the final cargoes that helped tip the balance. On the quayside, dockworkers and soldiers embrace, their laughter and shouts echoing across the water. The Liberty ships, lined up along the wharves, are festooned with bunting and banners. Their holds are empty now, but their legacy is full. Over 14 million tons of supplies delivered, thousands of tanks, trucks, and planes ferried across the ocean, millions of lives sustained. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Sullivan runs his hand along the warm steel of the engine that has carried him through so many storms. He remembers the fear, the exhaustion, the moments when he thought they wouldn't make it. But he also remembers the pride, the knowledge that he was part of something vast and vital. On deck, Bosun McAllister lights his pipe and looks out over the harbor. He sees other Liberty ships, their crews waving, their decks crowded with men and women who have become family. He thinks of those who didn't make it, the ships lost to torpedoes and storms, the friends left behind. But he also thinks of the future, the world they have helped save, the peace they have earned. As night falls, fireworks burst over the city, their colors reflected in the dark water. The Liberty ships, once dismissed as ugly ducklings, are now celebrated as the workhorses of victory. Their story is one of ingenuity, sacrifice, and unbreakable resolve. The war is over, but the legacy of the Liberty ships endures. They have shown what a united people can achieve, how industry and courage can turn the tide of history. They have bridged oceans, defeated enemies, and delivered hope to a world in darkness. And as the SS John W. Brown settles at her moorings, her crew joins the chorus of voices celebrating freedom. The Liberty ships have done their duty. The world will never forget. End.